pull for the Women's Centre is food. That's why many women come there. It's good food.
And Wednesday.
Wednesday is Chicken Day, so.
Oh, don't tell me that. That's put on a week.
And women have told us, like, you know, we used to provide food that had been donated, and women said, no, we need healthy foods, you know, we did a salad with, you know, a cooked meal, because that's what women said was a priority. Because food is, you know, for some people this is the only meal you get, so it needs to be a good one. And so what we do is, and including with the stock team, is that we make sure that the service is provided in a way that women are actually going to engage with it. Otherwise, there's kind of no point. I mean, you'll always get some people engaged with it, of course, but your objective is to engage women that otherwise will not be engaged. And we know that that's a high population of women in this community, because there's so many challenges and struggles for women in this community. We're not an organisation that is a harm reduction organisation. We're not a harm reduction organisation. We represent a diverse community of women who all have distinct beliefs, and we are based on a group of something that we've kind of resolved together. So some women don't believe in harm reduction for their own reasons, because of their own experiences, their own community experience, and we respect it. We do provide harm reduction services, but we're not a harm reduction organisation as a mandate, right? Relationship building, which for us, our capacity to build relationships with women and the community is often stressed by, you know, funding kind of criteria that we get, because we know that you get funding for a particular thing, and then the funding changes and the criteria changes, and they expect you to change. And they expect you to do it a particular way because they've gone off and done some research that, without asking anybody, the people, and have decided on this new model that they might use for 6 months. I mean, I think what used to be the Ministry of Women's Equality is, I think in my time, has gone through 8 or 10 changes, and now is the Ministry of Justice. Almost 7. And they have a different thing. And one of the staff members, many people remember Rita Blind, who's been in the community for many, many years. She leads the Memorial March every year. And she used to be, she's a support worker at the Women's Centre counsellor. And the ministry came and said, you know, you don't give us stats, and we want the stats. And she said, no, I'm not giving you stats, because only Rita could say that to Kendall. You're not going to cut down a tree so I can write on paper. And instead, if you want to know what I do, come here and see what I do.
Here, here.
And it got us through for about 14 years, and then she left. And now we have to do stats. but it's unique, right? Your experiences with people and how you're going to provide a service is unique to the person and what they need and what is relevant, and it shouldn't be defined by the confines of the funder or the research that they want to do. But this is what this project is, and so we have to somehow navigate that into getting women access to something that's really necessary and useful and will benefit her, but still be able to kind of maintain that we are here for a particular reason and we know what we're doing when it comes to providing a service to women. And so somehow you have to kind of juggle both of those things. So in terms of, you know, the stock project has come into the Women's Centre. We do have nurses that come in, and both of them here, Laura and Caroline, and if you have any questions for them, because they're the ones that kind of know in relationship to STOP what is happening, what is working, what is empowering women, da 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 da. So they're kind of placed in the Women's Centre. They don't work for the Women's Centre, they work for BCH. And, but it was recognized that if you want to work with women, that this is a good place to come. And we say that all the time. Don't go up and set something somewhere else. Go to where women are at, because that's how you'll provide this to them, or that's how you connect with them, because they're already there. So in their very busy day of trying to survive, why do you want them to go somewhere else? Right? Why do you have to get them to fit that in? Why can't you go to where they're already going? So, which is another model. I'm also here about this noise. I mean, I think it's frustrating as we all see the gaps in services for women, and I know others, but I'm talking about women, that you see people kind of redoing something that's already been tested, that women have already said, and you're like, don't, just listen to what's already happened. Just follow on the expertise of the community, and you'll cut out a whole bunch of work and difficulty, right? And you will actually get to the women that you want to provide this service to. And so on that note, we're also engaged in this kind of community mapping experience for women, and I know that there's people here that have engaged in that, community people that have engaged in some community mapping through the CAP and CCAP and the DNC and whatnot. But we're looking at, out of the experience of, as we know, there was a situation in the community a year or so ago. The moment I didn't think I was going to be happy now, but I'm running out of time, sorry. Oh shit.
Let me wrap that.
Okay.
Yeah. I want one question. I would like to take time to ask you questions.
Can I just say one more thing?
Tell the story. I'll tell the story. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the two things that should happen in the community that in terms of accessing women accessing services, these two things. It became extreme because of the situation at one of the shelters where women were being sexually assaulted and there was no response. And so of course, women's groups mobilized and did some work around that. And out of that, it's an extreme example, but what we know is women typically don't access co-ed services for a variety of reasons. And we think that women should be safer and more, and those spaces should be accessible. And the organizations that get funding in the community or around anywhere else should be accountable to it.
Here.
And that if you look out at your organization and see that it doesn't reflect the population in the community, then you need to do something different. And that relates as well to, to women, to Aboriginal people, to people that are not accessing those services, even though you know that they're in the community and you have to respond differently to those things. So we are engaging in this kind of community mapping, and it is to look at where women go and why they go there and what is safe about it, what isn't safe about it. And what we want is that funders use that as a tool for when they're funding, that they ask those questions of organizations. What do you do to make sure that women are safe in this space? How do you make it accessible to women? Because we're funding you for women, right? They're not funding just organizations for men. And I think briefly about the STOP project is that we talked to women about whether or not we wanted the STOP project in the centre, and what they would need in order to access it. And then women, and I know that there's women here that helped facilitate that process. And I mean, if anybody's got any questions around that, then there's a woman here that can answer it. And I'll stop, sorry.